Hold on. Am I live right now? Okay. All right. I see myself live. All righty. What is up? Hold on. Can you guys hear me? All right. All right. So this is my first time on StreamYard. I was using Streamlabs before. So this is my first time on StreamYard. So I've been trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out what gives me the best production, I guess if you want to call that. My best live stream that I can have. So bear with me here in the very beginning, trying to figure this stuff out. But welcome to another episode from the Corner Turnbuckle. My name is Jason. As you guys can see, I'm a big pro wrestling fan. All right. Look at all the stuff behind me. Anyway, we're going to go over tonight's episode of Impact from TNA Wrestling. What a great episode. Tonight's episode was amazing. Didn't take any notes because, to be honest, that's the one thing I hated from whenever I had my previous YouTube channel, the Anthem of Impact Wrestling Show. It started becoming more of a chore for me to watch wrestling. So therefore, I didn't want to have to take notes a whole lot. I did for the Slammiversary show. I did, for the preview show, and I took notes during that pay-per-view to do my review show. And to be honest, it's just, man, I hate taking that because it kind of takes away the fun from just enjoying the show itself. It might make for a messy review show, might make for a messy YouTube channel, but to be honest, I don't care because I just want to come on here and just chat about what I just saw. And what I just saw was a great episode of Impact Wrestling, or of Impact from TNA Wrestling. So let's get into it. All right. Let's just go ahead and start off. Let's go over some of the things that we saw from Tuesday night on NXT. We saw the Iceman, the Concierge, George Iceman. Awesome for him, man. That's such a great opportunity. We can all talk about whether or not we like this working relationship with WWE or not. Why we like it, why we don't like it, it does not matter. To be honest, at the end of the day, it does not matter. Let's all be real with this. WWE is obviously a bigger company than TNA. Right? Even NXT does not matter. NXT is WWE, and WWE is way bigger than TNA. So whenever I see guys like Moose, Mike Santana, Joe Hendry, Kaz was on there once, Masha, right? Whenever Jordan was on there before she joined WWE, right? And now the Iceman, dude, it's awesome. I'm so happy for those guys and girls that can get on that TV show. Which, I think leads me to kind of the other bigger deal. And that other bigger deal is WWE just announced their new, starting in 2026, their new media rights deal. Now, I believe their library is still staying on Peacock, but their premium live events will now be broadcasted on the ESPN app. And I believe that ESPN is starting a new app. They've always had this thing called ESPN Plus. For myself, I've been a subscriber to ESPN Plus for a couple years now. I did the whole ESPN Plus, Hulu, Disney Plus bundle for a very long time. Since I've done that, I started getting the kind of beta app versions of Disney Plus where they started adding the Hulu stuff, the ESPN Plus stuff, the uh, National Geographic stuff onto Disney Plus. I don't think everybody's gotten that, but since I did the whole bundle, I think I was part of the beta versions of that. So I've had this kind of merger for a while. I don't know if this new ESPN app is going to be part of that, or the WWE stuff is now going to be a part of that. I'm not sure. But from what I've seen online, it looks like as long as you have ESPN and their family and network, so ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, uh, uh, all the ESPN, whatever, I don't know if ESPN Classic's still around or not, but if you have those, you now have this app, which means you now have the WWE pay-per-views or PLEs that they like to call. That's a huge deal, which is now made way for the rumors, if you will, the innuendos, if you will, of looks like Peacock could be the leader in the clubhouse to acquire, I guess, a media rights deal with TNA Wrestling. Yes, please give me this. I won't speak for everybody because I see online a lot of people want to see TNA on the CW. I do not. And here's the only reason why. So here in St. Louis, we have on the CW local news. So right now already with NXT here in St. Louis, NXT starts at 8 p.m. local time. So everybody else local time that doesn't have local news, it starts at 7. So I got to get off Twitter, Facebook, everything at 7 so I don't get spoiled. Now, for most part, I don't really care about NXT, but now that like TNA's like way heavier involved in their weekly shows, I try to stay off. But with my job, I can be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got about a 45-hour drive into work. So really, like, I'll do it, but I really don't like staying up until 10 o'clock at night. Because then I'm probably not falling asleep until like 10:30, and then boom, I'm up at 3:30, 4 o'clock. So especially if I'm going to keep this channel going, if I ever want to do shows like this, like boom, pop up here right after, I won't be able to do that. So I'm hoping I would much rather see them on Peacock. Also, Peacock has I would think a much bigger range, much bigger grasp, could bring in more. What do they call it? P2, P3 viewers, to gain more viewers, to get more people maybe interested in that product. I think you're going to get way more of those on Peacock, especially if people are going to Peacock to still watch WWE, WCW, ECW library stuff, okay, on that app, right? If people are trying to show up to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine episodes, SNL episodes, and I go, what's this TNA stuff? What, TNA wrestling? What is this? Oh, let's click on it. Wait, is that AJ Styles? That looks like a young AJ Styles. Let's watch it. Like, you could put stuff, or whoever would be in charge of the marketing to get on the front page, right? Or the welcome page, whatever you want to call that, of that app. All right. You could put AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. Who else has been in TNA that are big names? MVP, Bobby Lashley, Roddy Piper, Sting, Hulk Hogan, the Nasty Boys, NWO. They were called the Band. Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, X-Pac, Raven, Nevermore, right? How about R-Truth? R-Truth was very big not too long ago, right? I mean, he was known as Ron Killings, Ron the Truth Killings back in TNA, but he was the first African American NWA heavyweight world champion of all time, and that happened in TNA. Now, I'm not that person that's gonna always like flaunt the gender, racial, whatever you want to call that. Like, I don't give a shit. Okay. Ron the Truth Killings deserved to be the fucking world heavyweight champion because he was that dude at that time. Regardless of race, gender, sexuality, preference, I don't give a shit. Okay. Tessa Blanchard deserved to be the fucking world heavyweight world champion because she was that good. Didn't matter if she was a chick. She was that good. Period. She deserved to be the top star in the company at that time. She did. So I get it, but I also hate whenever companies will like overly promote that. Okay, just let it happen. People will be that because that's who they are, and that's what they deserve to be. And at that time, Tessa deserved that. At that time, Ron Killings deserved that. And in other companies, WCW, for instance, Ron Simmons deserved that. Booker T deserved that. It had nothing to do with their skin color or anything else. Okay. So I hate whenever companies just like overly promote that because that feels so inauthentic. Okay. That's why I don't like it. It always comes off as so inauthentic. Let the fans do that type of promotion stuff because I know it means a lot to people, right? I know it means a lot to individuals, but as a company, let those individuals feel that way. Let those individuals promote that. As a company, sit back. I don't know. Because it always comes off as inauthentic. Leave a comment. If you feel like no, it's important, let your voice be heard. I want to hear. If you agree with me and say no, I agree with you. It does come off as inauthentic because they're a company. So companies always want to promote the corporate talk. And I'll probably agree with you. So we've talked about all the other stuff, okay, all the general things, the news, if you will. Let's get into this show, okay? Now, again, I haven't taken notes for this show because I hate doing that. It takes away from my enjoyment of the show. And I would love to do like live reactions with you guys, and maybe that's just what I do. But my job is so inconsistent with my hours because maybe I might have to help out with caterings and stuff like that. I'm a chef, by the way. Um, so my normal job will be Monday through Friday, and I'll usually be off about 2:30, 3 o'clock. By the time I get home, it's like 3:30. But sometimes there's catering events, and those catering events get kind of big, so they need my help. So I don't want to commit to any of that stuff because then sometimes I'm stuck there, right? So I don't want to commit to live reaction shows because one thing I know about this stuff here on YouTube is you got to be consistent. And I know so far I've not been consistent, and I probably won't be consistent until I start getting some legit viewers, some subscribers, get them likes, get them comments. I start getting some traction on this channel. Um, even on my old channel, the Anthem Impact Wrestling Show, I think I had like 161 subscribers. But I had videos that would get 25 views, and then I had videos that had like 100, 800 and something views. It's very inconsistent, but you know, if I can get back to at least that, I think the way YouTube is set up now, it's a little more creator friendly to the point of where you can not start making like a lot of money, but I could start making enough of a side hustle with this stuff that I can start getting some different sponsors. Um, I could get monetized quicker than you used to back like from 7 years ago, whenever I think I started this channel. Or I think I started this channel like over 10 years ago, but the last time I did a video was like 7 years ago. So, please share this stuff, like this stuff. Please subscribe. Give me a shot. Let me keep going. I want to try to get this going. I know I'm not going to be as consistent as I want to be, but the more that you guys, the viewers, are consistent with me, I could be more consistent with you guys. I mean, that's just kind of how it's going to be. So, again, let me get back to the show. I think overall, like I said, I think this show was very, very good. It was very entertaining. A typical TNA show. Great pace. Um, Impact was only an hour to begin with on Fox Sports Net, right? Whenever it started getting on actual cable networks. And one thing that they always kind of advertised Impact was this was a full hour of nonstop Impact, right? Total nonstop Impact. And that's kind of what this show reminded me of. It was just kind of constantly going. Great matches, great segments. It always involved a story going forward. It was constantly evolving something. And that's what I love about this show. Some of the highlights, man, that I can think of off the top of my head, let's just start off with the main event. Okay, because the last thing I saw. Joe Henry and Mustafa Ali. Great match. Great match, man. And again, why it makes sense. Because I've seen a lot of people talk some shit online about, oh, TNA, they'll be lucky to get on anything. Oh, that's unrealistic for TNA to get on something like USA Network and or this or Fox or blah, 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 whatever. Are you serious? Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, Mustafa Ali, Moose. Right there, just in those guys alone. Main event. You think those guys don't deserve to be on like that type of level of a network? And I'm not even talking about the females. I mean, look at the women wrestlers. Tessa Blanchard, the formerly known as Zia Lee, Ye Ying Lee, right? Killer Kelly, Masha Stamovich, The Inspiration, uh, all of the Elegance brand. You don't think they deserve to be on like those type of networks? I think you're wrong. I think you're very wrong. Okay? I think a lot of my line of thoughts, I don't know, that's kind of a weird way to say that, but I think a lot of my thoughts align. How about that? A lot of my thoughts align with people like Ango. Okay? You guys watch Ango? The Ango show. I think I agree with a lot of what he has to say. And I think he's somebody kind of like myself that has been around with TNA for a long time. Been a defender of them for a long time. I know I kind of took some time off, obviously. Almost damn near 10 years now from being on social media platforms. And obviously I'm nowhere close to as big as Ango. Okay. So I'm not comparing myself to him entirely. Okay. I'm just talking about we're individual creators. I'm not relying on other creators. I'm not doing a whole bunch of collabs or anything like that. I don't see Ango doing a whole lot of collabs himself either. The only collab I see him doing stuff with is Billy TKO. Am I right with that? I apologize if I'm totally wrong, but I think his name's like Billy. Not a huge TNA guy, but that's the thing. That's awesome. I love that as a TNA fan, that he is trying to do TNA shows with a dude that's not a big TNA fan. Because I think he's trying to make him a TNA fan and a TNA creator. And I think it's starting to work. I love that stuff. You know what I mean? Like I love watching uh the Wrestling for Life network, right? KJ and Nick. And then they brought on Ringside Anthony. Ringside Anthony is the big TNA guy. And since I started watching them, I would say in the last 6, 7 months, okay, I started watching them with WWE stuff. Um, and then they have slowly done more and more and more live stuff for TNA. Now, Ringside Anthony has always done TNA stuff, but I'm talking about their channel as a whole. Started doing more and more TNA stuff. Why? Because TNA is undeniable. Okay? They are, in my eyes, and I think a lot of people's eyes, but they won't maybe want to admit it, the best pro wrestling product going today. I'm not saying they have the best production or any of that type of stuff. Okay. I'm not saying they're the overall best thing. I personally think TNA Wrestling has the best pro wrestling product going today. Okay. I hope everybody understands that. What I'm saying by that. I have tried to get people like friends of mine that kind of like wrestling, maybe at some point, whether we watched pro wrestling when we were kids, in the middle of the Attitude Era, back in junior high and high school, whether it's a friend of mine that also knows a friend of theirs that's kind of like a distant friend of theirs that happens to work in the video production side of WWE. So they kind of keep going in and out of being a wrestling fan. And, I keep trying to get them into TNA. It's very tough, okay? Because if you're just a mainstream wrestling fan, you know WWE, you get it, and that's what you're going to watch. So it's tough to get into other wrestling companies that you don't know. But thankfully, to even the little bit of rub that they get from NXT, okay? Only NXT, the only people that think that the NXT relationship doesn't matter are the people that are hardcore pro wrestling fans. Okay. And that's it. If you're an outside or a general pro wrestling fan, okay, you don't watch NXT. You watch Raw, SmackDown, PLEs, and you might not even watch all those consistently. So whenever random things happen and you see or you hear the TNA name, you get those random promotions, like say at SummerSlam, where right before the TLC match on night 2, they promoted Team 3D versus the Hardys at Bound for Glory. Guess what? My buddy goes, "Hey, I know you've been trying to get me over for these TNA events. We're going to do something for Bound for Glory?" I said, "Damn right. Yeah, let's do something, man. I'll cook out. We'll get some beers. We'll do something." Okay. So already I'm getting one of my buddies who has a friend that works in like the video department for WWE. Come over to watch Bound for Glory. Okay. And what I mean by like production part of it is they'll do like the random, they might have been a part of the Unreal stuff. Or if they put out a random documentary, trying to think of like one of the documentaries we used to watch all the time. I don't know what's like a video that was like the lifestyle of the superstar Billy Graham, like those type of things that we saw growing up. Like he was kind of part of that group. Like he doesn't do anything with the week to week show or any of that. But maybe he had something to do. I don't know if he does, but he would be somebody that would have to do with the McFoley reality show or the Divas reality show, the Bella Twins reality show, the random fake or the random documentaries about the random pro wrestlers that get released on video. Okay. He was part of like that division of WWE. Okay. So I'm not trying to say like he's in there in the creative team or anything like that. Like I just want to try to make that clear. Okay, I don't know people that close into the product. but but my buddy does. And so the fact that he's willing now to watch more TNA, I mean, that's awesome. That's what I want. I want to see people watch more TNA. I will never be a person that likes something that gets mad whenever it gets bigger. I want it to get bigger. I want TNA to be that number two promotion. It'll never be number one because I would be like, hey, I want the XFL, UFL, whatever this league is called now, to be bigger than the NFL. No, I don't. I don't. I just want that company to maybe be viable enough that people start going, hey, I can't wait for that. Now that the Super Bowl's over, I can't wait for this to happen to watch this now more. And that's kind of where I see TNA. And so I know I'm going to go on this tangent now. I still haven't gotten into the show, but you know, let's address all the people that keep saying TNA is going to get bought up by WWE. Okay, especially with this whole like WWE is clearly positioning and helping TNA get this streaming media rights deal. Sure, they are. And that's awesome. Thank you, WWE. Thank you, Nick Khan. Thank you, TKO, and whoever else is involved. Because what I don't think, maybe at some point, sure, maybe at some point WWE or TKO does buy TNA. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and keep like denying that because pro wrestling and really just in the entertainment business, who knows? Like anything can happen ever at any time. But right now, use your common sense. What does WWE or TKO gain from buying TNA? Just buying them and using them. I mean, kind of right now, if you want to look at it, the way that they're using this partnership with them, they're the equivalent to NXT. So if they were to buy TNA, what does WWE gain? Nothing. They already have NXT, right? So right now, I believe that TNA is more beneficial to WWE as a partner. Why? Because they can still help them build themselves up to compete and probably take over AEW. And that is more beneficial to that company than if they were just to straight up buy TNA. I mean, that's just the truth. Right? It just is. WWE gets more benefit from TNA being its own company still, but getting on a bigger network, getting some bigger sponsorships and bigger business partners to take over as that number two company and continue to be a partner with WWE. Because then they can, like I said, they can take over AEW as the second biggest promotion, not just in the United States, but in the world. Because I already think that TNA already has that edge over in the rest of the world over AEW. It's just what a matter of fact of getting on a bigger TV network deal. Eric Bischoff, I think, talked a lot on Ariel Helwani show And a lot of people kind of, like poo-pooed what he said about like this time next year. Yes, if and he specified if TNA gets the right media rights deal, the right TV broadcast network partner, right? It's not just if they just got any, but if they got the right one and it gave them the right amount of money, because that is the key. And I think Carlos Silva brought up the $10 million amount for a reason, because that I think is clearly the number at Anthem that they think they need to hit to be able to go get the right type of athletes and names to continue to build that company. Okay. So I don't think a lot of these rumors are true. I did post a little bit of something on X. I think it would be hilarious if all the rumors that initially were that Cedric Alexander was going to team back up with the Hurt Business Syndicate, his buddies with Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP. I think it'd be hilarious if it actually happened in TNA. Like everybody's right, he's going to team back up with them. But with these stories going around about the, I don't know, I guess you could say bad blood or whatever you want to say in AEW, maybe they all leave. But guess what? They're not going back to WWE because MVP said a lot of the same shit about Hunter in WWE. Maybe they come back, or maybe they, as an MVP and Bobby Lashley, come back home. Right? Maybe they come back home to TNA. Now, I wouldn't consider TNA necessarily MVP's home. Because MVP was here in TNA, but not for necessarily that long. It was a good amount of time. But I think TNA is definitely Bobby's second home. And I would love to see Bobby Lashley back home in TNA. Because I think this is the place where Bobby really bloomed. You know what I'm saying? I think this is the company that Bobby Lashley became fucking Bobby Lashley. Like the Bobby Lashley. The guy that could hold that world championship and be the face of a company. Just like Drew McIntyre, aka Drew Galloway. Just like Eli Drake, dummy. Yeah. Right? Just like so many of these guys that left or was released from WWE, came to TNA, rehabilitated themselves, became top-notch guys, and went back. Somebody else I'm going to throw in that list that unfortunately went to the wrong company, and that's W. Morrissey. Big Cass. Morrissey. Now he's known as Big Bill. Big Bill. Just kind of hiding behind Jericho with Big Bill. No. Go back and watch his stuff in TNA as W. Morrissey. Dude was a badass. Dude was a monster. Dude was Sid Vicious. Psycho Sid, whatever you want to call him. Whenever Sid was at the top of his game, that was Morrissey in TNA. And it's a shame that TNA never threw that belt on him. I will say that. That is one part where they kind of failed, is they didn't put that belt on Morrissey. But what has happened to him in AEW? Man, that's a travesty. Legit. I'm not trying to be over dramatic about that. I think if he would have been back from TNA to WWE, I think he would have already won a world title. I think he would have been that Gunther guy. In all honesty, I think you would have had that Gunther style program. Maybe got a U.S. title or Intercontinental title, held on to that for like a year, just murdered people. and then had that like underdog babyface maybe finally beat him, and then he moved up to a world heavyweight title. That style of run, because that's what TNA does. Another mistake was Josh Alexander. Glad you took the money, bro. Glad you took the money. Because I will never tell people don't take the money. Okay. At the end of the day, you got to provide for your family. You know, take that type of opportunity. I will never fault people for that. So whenever I talk about this stuff, I'm never gonna fault people for this. Okay, I'm just talking creatively. Okay. I'm not saying Josh would have gone to WWE and been a star, because he would have gone to NXT just like Ricky Starks and Ethan Page. And I think he'd be doing very well. I think Josh could have easily beaten Obafemi, right? And become the NXT World Champion. But that's about the equivalent of being a TNA champion right now. I mean, it is, as far as like exposure goes, right? But I do think Josh has all the ability in the world to be that Kurt Angle style pro wrestler at the main roster in WWE. I think he definitely would have gone NXT. Probably would have been an NXT World Heavyweight Champion or a North American Champion. He would have had to learn there. He'd probably be there for another 2 years, probably. If I'm being realistic. But then he probably would have jumped up to the main roster. And I think he'd be up there wrestling Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, Jacob Fatu. He'd be killing it. Josh is insanely good at everything he does. I mean, if you anybody out there that doesn't know who I'm talking about when I say Josh Alexander, go to YouTube. Search Josh Alexander versus TJ Perkins, TNA Impact, 1 hour Iron Man match. He is Eddie Guerrero plus Kurt Angle all rolled into one. He is that good. Man, that match is one of my favorite matches of all time. I'll put that up there with Stone Cold versus Bret Hart. The match where, like that's the match, kind of like that submission match that made Stone Cold who Stone Cold is, with the bloody face and the sharpshooter he passed out, all that stuff. I put that up there with Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker. What was that, WrestleMania 25? My memory is not all that great. But I think somewhere up there with that. Many Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero matches from WCW days. Try to think that type of stuff. I mean, that's what you saw with the Josh Alexander versus TJP. Think Kenny Omega versus Okada in New Japan. Those style matches. It's a mix of like strong style and submission wrestling and mat wrestling, and then they go a hour plus. It's such a good match. You get a very good sample of what Josh Alexander is all about. So please go watch that match. Again, I know I've been just kind of rattling about everything. Man, tonight though, we had that kind of running with a bunch of the women's. It's good to see the Inspiration on tonight. Kind of wish the Inspiration was on last week too, even though it's been like they weren't on last week's show. They were on the week before, where we brought in Mara Shah Day. But just that little absence of just last week's show, not gonna lie, if it felt like much longer that we weren't getting the inspiration, which tells you how much like it's important. Put the inspiration on every show. The inspiration, they're stars. Whenever they're not on the show, they are missed. Okay. Um, Lei Ying Lee needs to get pushed hard. Okay. Put her more up there against JC Jane and all that stuff. Zaya Brookside, I think, is clearly a future star. She needs to be up there. And I know, I get it. Like I'm just like throwing people up there. You can only push one person at a time, technically. And right now it's Ash. And the Elegance brand is definitely deserving of that. They are amazing right now. Everything they do has been great. Ash is looking great. Um, you know, the Iceman is one of my favorite things to watch on TNA right now on a weekly basis. But just this interaction where it's just like knockout after knockout was coming out to the ring. It's very noticeable. Once the inspiration came out, like, oh, okay, yeah, like we've missed them. Thank you for bringing them on TV. Um, it is time to make that Knockouts tag team division a bigger deal than it is. Okay. I know they're trying to put together Harley Hudson and Miley Grace as a team, and that's fine. They're both very capable, great wrestlers. But then, okay, then put the other two that they signed together, Mila Moore and Jada Stone. Put them together as a team too, then. We need more teams. Not just one team that's going to fight this team that hold the titles now 5 times in a row with no other competitors fighting to make it look like there's division. Okay. And I'm totally fine with maybe those teams fighting on something like Explosion. Give us a reason to watch Explosion. Bring us to the app. Make us watch Explosion. Do that. All right. I understand that, Carlos Silva's been kind of toting some of the subscriptions to the app, but I think you could have much more. Give us a reason to watch Explosion. Maybe the Knockouts tag division is one of those things. I think the International Championship is one of those things. Put Macklin on the Indies. Put Macklin around the world. And then take those matches and put them on Explosion. Again, give us a reason to watch Explosion. Get us a reason to get to the app. Bring those viewerships up. Bring the subscriptions up. I watch it because I'm a weird nostalgia guy and I love watching old school shit. So I love randomly going, hey, this weekend is Emergence. Let me go watch Emergence from 2019. I don't remember if the even Emergence around then, but especially for the big ones. Let's say Slammiversary. Slammiversary is coming up. I'm going to bed, so just to fall asleep to, let's Slammiversary 05. Cool. I'm gonna go to sleep to that. I'll probably fall asleep after match 1 or during match 1, but whatever. It's gonna keep playing while I sleep. That's views for the app. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I'm that guy. I will do that. But not everybody is. So, give people a reason to tune into the app, subscribe to the app. If you have a little bit of a storyline, that'll draw people in. And right now, I would say the International Championship and the Women's Knockouts Tag Champs are 2 belts. I think you could start throwing stuff on to that Explosion episodes for. Um, so there's that. Um, let's see here. What else happened on tonight's show? I've talked so much, I'm starting to forget like what happened on tonight's show. To be honest with you, so I just keep talking. Right. Let's see here. What else could I keep talking about? Yeah. Let's see here. Um. Hmm. Hold on. Let's look up real quick. Hold on. Results. Oh, I know exactly what. Here's something I definitely want to talk about. All right. So not to be uh super misogynistic, but Tasha, Tasha Steeles, girl. I will say this. Like, I'm not going to say that Tasha was ever like an ugly girl because that would be stupid to say. Okay, but ever since the Order 4 stuff, man, yo, give me a like if you think Tasha Steeles has been dream worthy. Okay, wow. And you know what? I don't care. Anyone who takes this, clip this out, send this to her. I don't care. Okay, look, Tasha, you've been bringing the heat, girl. Okay, you've been bringing the heat. Good job on you. And not just looks too, by the way. Okay, character wise, so good. The only thing missing is Tasha being in the ring again. That is the only thing that's been missing from this whole Tasha Steeles and the Order 4 stuff. Is she needs to be back in the ring fighting for that knockouts title. Legit. Because she looks so authoritative in everything she's wearing and the way she's being uh, um, put out there in the Order 4. She's very authoritative. She needs to be wrestling for that knockouts title. But besides that, whenever she comes out, oh, girl, mm, so girl, so fine, so fine. But no. I know I'll probably get canceled for that shit, but it's okay. I don't care. I'm very happily married. I'm not trying to be a creep. I'm just not. I'm not trying to be a creep. But damn, looking very good. Anyway, but yeah, no, she does. She definitely needs to be put back in that world title. She has been a world champion. She's been the greatest to beat the greatest, and that's something that needs to be done to really build up that world champion, the main event, the knockout main event title picture, right? So Killer Kelly, Masha, Tasha, um, Rosemary needs to get back in that stuff. I personally think that somebody like Yaling Lee, Tessa, obviously, I think Indy's about to get there. Um, and then somebody else that I would start putting up there is a Danny Luna. I think Danny Luna is the perfect replacement for Jordan Grace. Be that musclehead, be that powerhouse, be that strong style pro wrestler that can kind of take over what Jordan was doing. I think Danny Luna could be that young kind of uh not as proven talent that can be put up there to prove herself. That's kind of what I think with that. All right. So anyway, let me look over here. Let me try to get to these results. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Mean Jim Miller is back. And I think what a lot of us TNA lifers are hoping for is we're going to see the Gia Miller, the pro wrestler Gia Miller that we have seen or have at least seen glimpses of from Pro Wrestling Revolver. I'd be down for that. Let's go. Tessa versus Gia at Bound for Glory would be awesome. I don't know if it's gonna be a great match. I just think the story would be awesome. I haven't seen enough of Gia legit matches to know if Gia could even really do much in the ring. I do not know. I just have seen some of the character work that I've seen posted up on X from Pro Wrestling Revolver, where she's been not just this interviewer, the straight up interviewer. Let her bring out that fucking hick side of her, bring out that accent, make it a very bitchy tone thing. She's very much a heel in Pro Wrestling Revolver. Let her do that. Let her just like really lean into that and do that and go after Tessa. But like, I mean, obviously in this situation, she would be more of a face, but let her lean into that character as a badass, like fuck you type character and have her be that face against Tessa. I think just that story is going to be very good. And then to be honest with you, as much as I love Gia, and I think Gia's done amazing work as the backstage interviewer, now is kind of taking over that pre-show that Jackie Redmond, formerly Renee Young, Paquette now, but Renee Young in WWE, that kind of Kayla Braxton style persona for pre-show, post-show, those kind of things. I think she's done amazing work. Okay. But if they were then to hand that off to a Gabby Laspisa, I think thumbs up. Oh, everybody wins there. Okay. Gia now becomes a wrestler or at least a wrestling personality. And I think that's really going to highlight the most out of Gia. And then everybody gets Gabby on their TV every week. I think it's a great thing. Okay. Give me a thumbs up if you agree with me. Gabby is a thumbs up. I just think she's great. Okay. I think she's got a great personality. I think she does a good job as that backstage interviewer. She clearly has a passion for this business. You see that whenever she was part of Busted Open and now with her own podcast. You know, I think she does a great job. It's a great personality to have on your show. That's a national personality that a lot of people love across all brands. Now you have that part as your brand here in TNA. I think it's great. Great job. Um, Trick Williams. I think Trick Williams is going to be the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. You know, I used to think it was going to happen at Bound for Glory, but to be honest with you, whenever I watch the TNI guys with J Bone and Front Row Bill, if you will, I think Bill makes a great point that he thinks is going to go till Genesis. Because the longer it takes to get this TV deal announced, I think that's where you will see the change. And the longer it takes, I think he's right. I think it goes till the beginning of the year. So Genesis will then start. I think the TV deal will probably start maybe October or November, which then will lead to a heavy crossover story between NXT and TNA. And then the culmination will happen at Genesis. And I think that is where you will see Mike Santana win back the World Heavyweight Championship. And then the first episode of the new year on Peacock or on a special Saturday night's main event featuring TNA or something of that nature. Ooh. Okay, as a WCW lifelong fan, I ain't gonna lie. How about this? On a special Saturday night, TNA Clash of Champions. Mike Santana walks out opening segment as your new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. I'm a big WCW fan, so if they start throwing like allowing TNA to start using some of those WCW names, I'm down with that. I don't give a shit. I don't care what that means for their relationship or not relationship, or if it means TKO WWE's buying them, whatever. If they let them start using some of those WCW names like Clash of Champions, and it's a Saturday night on NBC. That'd be awesome. How about this? So, um, NBC's got Big Ten football or college football on Saturday nights. How about on NBC at 2:30, 3:30 in the afternoon, Saturdays, leading in to the big time Big Ten matchup of the night? It's TNA Clash of Champions. Maybe people that are tuning in for the Penn State versus Nebraska, or maybe one night it's Michigan versus Ohio State. Well, no, that wouldn't be that because that's going to be a big noon kickoff. But Michigan versus Michigan State versus Notre Dame as the NBC night game. But right before there, it's TNA. So maybe they're tuning in early. They're watching the main event of that night, Mike Santana versus Cedric Alexander. Think you wouldn't gain some pro wrestling fans? I think you would. How awesome would that be? I'm not saying the whole show would like increase their viewership by huge numbers, but that last main event might. And that's where you could draw some people in. That's why then that main event becomes very important. That's probably why you would have something that's very athletic based, like a Mike Santana versus Cedric Alexander, or a Mike Santana versus a Mustafa Ali, and Mustafa Ali versus Cedric, a Leon Slater versus Moose, a Leon Slater versus a Rich Swann. Speaking of Rich Swann, again, I know I'm jumping around and ahead, but that is definitely, I think, where I wanted to go next anyway. Welcome back, Rich Swann, baby. Let's go. Are you kidding me? Number one, I cannot wait to see Casey Navarro go on his own. That dude is going to be a freaking star for sure. But Casey's the future, baby. But right now, who's not happy to see Rich Swann back? Because there's 2 points to this. And the number one point is I take this as he's gotten his demons in control. So as a human being, awesome. So good to see that you're probably on the right track, that you've got your stuff figured out, which is awesome. Good deal, man. I love to see people, just be good at life. It sucks to see people just continue to make mistakes, and because we all do, but it sucks whenever you see like somebody that you're a really big fan of just, you know, like fail is a bad word, but make mistakes and just continue to make mistakes and have things kind of get screwed up for them. Whenever they can take those failures and recoup and rejuvenate themselves and be better people, and it's kind of hard to put into words kind of what I mean without, because I don't want to say the wrong thing. But man, it's so good to see him back. So good to see Rich Swan back. Rich Homie Swan, hey, welcome back. All we need now is his wife. Let's see Soo Young back. Okay. I don't know if they're still married. I think they are. I don't know. I don't get too deep into these people's like personal lives, to be honest with you. I might kind of figure out what their real names are or stuff like that, but I don't try to like dive in that hard, like a lot of people on social media. But like I might know Killer Kelly and Myron Reed are married and have a kid. I don't know Killer Kelly's real name, and I don't know Myron's real name. Maybe that is a real name. I don't know, and I don't care. Okay, like if I will stumble upon the real names, that's cool. That's fine. I kind of find that interesting, but I'm not like I don't go out searching for that stuff. So again, I don't go out searching to find out what's really going on with Rich Swan in his personal life. So I don't know. But him being back on TV has me thinking, okay, maybe things are better for him in his personal life. And now he's back on TV. He's back in TNA where he belongs. Welcome back home. Kind of sucks that he's coming back as a heel, because I think everybody that is a TNA fan wants to say, welcome back. Welcome back. That kind of thing. They want to say, welcome back home. We love you, Rich. Come on. But I will say this. At least it sounded like on TV that he got the boos that a heel would want. So, to the few fans that were there in Rhode Island, thank you for playing your part. Okay. You're supposed to be a heel. Give him a heel reaction. If you were a real fan, give him the reaction that he's trying to convey. And I feel like the Rhode Island fans did that. And if they didn't, and that was just piped in, like noise that they did in post-production, okay, thank you, TNA, for doing that. Because it came off fairly real to me, at least, that he got a legit boo reaction. But at the end of the day, I'm very happy Rich is back in TNA. Dude is super talented. His initial run with First Class, where he kind of seemed to be like that, like junior high sidekick bully gimmick, was not good. So hopefully this gimmick with First Class will be better. I mean, you can't have a world hate champion be like yeah, get him, AJ, get him. Like that type of gimmick, that sidekick to the bully. Like if you ever watch like the Christmas Story, like he was the other like small scrawny kid to the redhead bully. You're like, yeah. Like what was it, Tom and Jerry or something, like the old school cartoon where you had the big dog with the bully cap on, was like, yeah. And then you had the little itty bitty chihuahua, like, yeah. Like that was kind of like Rich Swan during the beginning of the First Class gimmick. Not great. Okay. I'll just admit that. It wasn't great. So hopefully now he's going to be like a legit, just like number 2. Be like a legit bully number 2 that's going to be a freaking heel. Be the dog, dude. In that company, AJ hasn't won shit. You're an X Division champion. You're a former world heavyweight champion, a tag team champion. You're the guy. Not saying that you should be the head of First Class, because I still believe that should be AJ Francis. He has worked his way to be that guy. But you shouldn't just be like the barking chihuahua behind the Rottweiler. You know what I'm saying? Be the equal. It's two freaking Wattwilers. Being just dogs is what Rich should be now in first class. And then I personally think this is amazing for Casey to bridge off and go be the X Division champion. That dude has babyface written all over him. TNA has been putting him out there and media availability nonstop. I think he's been doing an amazing job at those media availabilities, promoting this company. He's got that great, just kind of look to him. Um, can't wait to see what Casey's going to do outside of first class now. All right, let's see what else here. Sorry, by the way. I think I just hit that microphone. Trying to think here. I mean, yeah, that tag team match, like I said, was great. That's what led to all the ladies coming into the ring, um, which is what I liked. Ooh, Rich Swann now has a new shirt too. That looks pretty cool. Mara Sade, let's do that. Let's talk about that. Mara Sade. Um, I think a great addition to the Knockouts. Mara Sade. To be honest, she was not necessarily on my short list of the NXT releases that I thought were going to come in. I thought Gigi Dolan would have came in before. I thought Cora J would have came in before. I think oh god, I'm blinking on her name now. Uh it was Nixon Newell or Noel at NXT. Yeah, she goes by something else on the indies. But her, I thought would have came in before. But with Mara Sade in NXT, I don't think they necessarily promoted her as well as they should have. Because unfortunately, she got put with somebody like Lash Legend that just overshadowed her and a tag team part because she's a legit just Amazonish looking woman. WWE loves that. She stands out. She's like that Jade Cargill, China, Beth Phoenix, that style, that look to her. That's undeniable. You know, whenever you get that presence about her, it's undeniable. You got to push her that she is the main talent. Especially last week, whenever they did the whole video package on her, where they kind of gave some background to her and made her really humanized her. Man, I started to kind of get it, and I think, especially with TNA's history, like I said, talking about earlier, when I started promoting, made stars out of people like Drew Galloway, Eli Drake, yeah, right, W Morrissey, those type of guys. Well, they do the same thing for the knockouts. Okay? Deanna Prazo, Mickey James, Ty Valkyrie. Well, not Mickey James. Mickey James was already kind of, but Ty Valkyrie, Jordan Grace. You know, those types of females in recent years become stars under this banner to the point to where they were getting multiple offers from other bigger companies. I personally don't put their downfall, might be a strong word, but their downfall on them since they've left TNA. I put that more on the companies that they went to, and not knowing what to do with what they've got. I think AEW right now found something in Tony Storm, and they're not willing to budge. This is who we have, and this is who we're pushing. Before that, it was Britt Baker. And it's all. Everybody else is just a feeder to them. You're telling me I'm wrong all you want. I know I'm not. But AEW, Tony Khan, does not know how to book women. And I'm not saying TNA is always perfect, but since they introduced the knockouts division, I would say 90 to 95% of the time, they have booked the women the best out of any company going today, period. They might not have the deepest roster at all times, but the way they book their matches, and for the most part, the way they book their stories, nobody else does it like TNA. And that's through many different bookers, ownership, producers, agents, knockout roster, does not matter. Consistently, they have done it better than any other company that is out there. Because even WWE might have a really deep roster, especially now with NXT. Their roster might be super deep if you include Raw, SmackDown, NXT. But it's not consistently good storytelling. I think their main roster, their storytelling's gotten very good. But that's only been over the last 4 or 5 years. TNA, I think storytelling has been going on since 2006, 2007, whenever the knockouts were first established with Gail Kim, Awesome Kong, Roxy Laveau, Taylor Madison, aka Vel Sky, Angelina Williams, aka Angelina Love, right? Miss Jackie, Tracy Brooks, Chrissy Hemme. I'm trying to think of everybody else that was part of that initial run. Trinity. Then further on, you had Madison Rain. You had Melissa, the cheerleader, aka now, what she become? God, I can't think of the name now. She was Awesome Kong's manager. Can't think of the name now. Oh God, that's gonna suck. Anyway, Taylor Wilde, Sarita, Zelina was Rosita. Zelina Vega was right. Salida. Dark Angel, aka shoot, I'm blanking on the name, but in TNA she was Rosita or Sarita. They had Hamada in TNA for a while. Of course, Mickey James and Tara. I know they did. The Knockouts division's always been amazing. Okay, and great storytelling, and they book the women like they do the men. For the most part, they do book the women like they do the men. A lot of times, what I hate about women's wrestling is it's so catty. Sometimes they book them so catty. You know, it's like, you didn't call me back, so now we're fighting. You looked at this man this way, so now we're fighting. It's so catty sometimes. But for the most part, I'm not saying that there's never been a story like that in TNA. Okay. But for the most part, it's not been booked like that. And then the matches are not super choreographed. It's very physical. It's a fight. And they'd let the girls go. Just like they do the guys. And that is the key to booking women, to get people to think they're watching a match the exact same way that they're watching the guys. And you don't over promote. Don't go, hey, this is the first time women have done this. No, you just let it happen. Let the fans go, wow, hey, by the way, I think this is the first time women have done this style of match. Let the Fans do that. Because again, I brought this up in the beginning of this video. If a company does it, it makes it come off inauthentic. So don't let it come off that authentic. Let the fans do it. Let the fans promote that stuff. Because as a company, you should think that nothing um that nothing sorry, looking over the results again. Just make sure what else I didn't miss anything, but you know, make it seem like nothing is off the limits. Make sure that nothing is above anything else, except for like maybe title matches and stuff. But you know, the women matches are just as important as the men's matches. You know, there's whenever you start over promoting one or the other, it's like it becomes inauthentic, like I said, and um, I don't know how else to put that. It's inauthentic. So just let it be. Let the fans decide if it's that good or not. Let the fans put it where it needs to be, because that's where it should lay in the hands of the fans. So yeah, so I think I went over pretty much everything that I kind of wanted to hit up for tonight's TNA Impact. Um, Trying to think if I missed anything else. I don't think I did, but uh, hope everybody enjoyed tonight's show. I think we got one more TNA Impact, and then it's Emergence on Saturday night. I don't think TNA has any representation going on, but with all the partnerships going on, let's also promote the AAA Triple Mania event that's going to happen on that Friday the day before. It's going to be on the WWE YouTube channel. First time really AAA has been available like that to us here in the US, so that's going to be awesome. I'm going to watch it for the first time ever, because I love pro wrestling, and I'm gonna check it out. Very interested in that main event: Dom Mysterio versus El Grande Americano versus Vikingo versus, I think it's Dragon Lee for the AAA Mega Championship. Should be good from all the rumors. It could be going to Dom Mysterio. It's going to be very interesting. He is clearly over like Rover and Mexico. I think the Mysterio name really gives it. I mean, he's over like Rover here in the US too, but it's to a different level right now in Mexico. It's very interesting because I was not a huge Dom fan whenever he first started. It came off as very nepo baby, and he had this kind of just very weird baby deer looking stamina with him. But right now, as Dirty Dom, what he's doing right now, dude's a star. He's still not necessarily like amazing in the ring, but especially in WWE, like you don't have to be. You got to be a storyteller. You got to be a character. First and foremost, if you can go in the ring, then cool. That's icing on the cake. But that match that he had with AJ Styles at SummerSlam was really good. Had me entertained. So be very interested to see what happens there. Emergence is going to be very good. I'm very curious about the main event because the TNA diehard in me is like, how are you going to have Moose lose to Trick? I've been a fan of the NXT crossover, but one of the matches that I've hated was the Moose versus Obafemi. I think the match itself was actually very good. What I hated was the fact that Moose lost and lost clean. Because I'm sorry, like I'm totally fine with people losing and crossing over and all that stuff back and forth. Moose is a main roster level talent. Cannot have him lose to the equivalent of a non main roster talent. And now I believe he's about to lose to two of them. And Moose is a fucking professional. That's why he's about to lose to two of them, because he's that guy. He's going to do that. You can put two dudes over for a company that doesn't work for the company that he does, because he's that type of guy. But guys like Moose, Mike Santana, and I would almost put Joe Hendry up there, Eddie Edwards, those type of guys, those are main roster guys. They shouldn't be losing to NXT guys, because NXT is not going to lose two main roster guys. Or the main roster guys in WWE are not going to lose to those same NXT guys. So, you know, I just think it's fair if TNA also doesn't have those guys lose. You know, the Hardys losing the Fraxium. No. Just shouldn't happen. Shouldn't. Sorry. Now, if they were to wrestle Fraxium since they've been on the main roster, okay. That'd be fine. And I'm not saying that like TNA guys should always lose to NXT guys, but it should be, you know, Jody Threat versus Sol Ruka. It should be for the guys like KC Navarro one-on-one with this Jason Hodge versus Javon Evans. I'm fine with that. But the main event dudes should not be losing to anybody on that roster. That has been my only gripe of the crossover. Because, look, I'm fine with it at the end of the day, because I do believe that it is giving TNA a lot of opportunity and a lot of rub, because the WWE name is still there. In fact, you're even seeing it now, period, with, you know, like Heatwave coming up. It doesn't say it's NXT Heatwave, it's WWE Heatwave. Where in the past, those NXT PLEs were advertised as NXT this, or whatever the name may be of that PLE. Now it is WWE Battleground, WWE Heatwave, WWE Halloween Havoc. So they are trying to make that NXT that third brand. But the stink on it, reception on it, is still that it is the developmental. And TNA, if you're trying to legit make yourself that second brand in the United States or the world, you cannot be on the same level as a developmental brand. You just can't. That doesn't work. So anyway, I've been babbling all too long. Been an hour and a half now. Been having a good time. You know, please, if you guys like the video, hit the subscribe button, like video, leave a comment. I'm going to try to get on more. Hopefully my schedule kind of straightens out. I can be on here more either right after the show or maybe on Fridays. Not quite sure if things are just kind of so out of whack. I will try my best to be on Mondays to get my kind of quick review of any show. For pay-per-views, I will do my best to be on the day after any kind of pay-per-view. If anything really crazy happens on NXT that I need to jump on, I might try to jump on, maybe not right after NXT, but that next day on that Wednesday. If not, I'll just include it into my Thursday shows. I'm going to try to do some WWE stuff after pay-per-views. SummerSlam weekend was just a little too much. So I wasn't able to jump on here and talk about SummerSlam. But coming up, I would say the next one would probably be maybe not Survivor Series. Probably whatever was on before. I guess it would be Castle in Paris or Clash in Paris, I guess is what it would be called. So I might get on for that one, because that would be like a good afternoon one. Since it's overseas, those are usually like early to mid-afternoon. So I might get on late that night or the next early the next morning before my kid gets up and have to watch him. So I guess that's how we'll do that. So this is my first time on StreamYard doing a live stream from StreamYard. I do think this is a better way to do this over Streamlabs. So if you guys think so, let me know, and I will maybe stick to this. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, TNA Nation, peace out.